The text from my brother Ethan arrived at exactly 6:47 p.m. on a Friday, just as I was reviewing quarterly reports in my home office. I paused mid-sentence in my analysis of overseas manufacturing costs when I read it. "Hey sis, borrowed your cheap necklace from your jewelry box for my date tonight." Thanks, smiling face. I stared at the screen, rereading the message, as my brain struggled to catch up. Ethan was in my apartment, going through my jewelry box, taking my cheap necklace. The problem was, I didn't own any cheap necklaces. My phone buzzed again. "Don't worry, I'll take good care of it. Just wanted something nice for Lily. You know how she is about jewelry." Oh, I knew exactly how Lily was. Ethan's girlfriend of 6 months had expensive taste and a troubling habit of borrowing things that never found their way back. She still had 2 of my silk scarves and a designer handbag she'd casually decided looked better on her. But this time felt different. I stood up quickly and walked to my bedroom, my pulse starting to race. I opened my jewelry box and scanned the contents. Everything seemed normal at first: the pearl earrings my mother gave me, my grandmother's vintage bracelet, the simple gold chain I wore to work. Then my eyes moved to the back corner. The blue velvet compartment was empty. The compartment where I kept the Selene sapphire necklace. My chest tightened as I rushed back to my desk and opened my laptop. I logged into the Cross Crown Jewelers internal inventory database and searched for item number CC7712. There it was. Selene sapphire and diamond necklace. 18K white gold setting. 16.1 carat sapphire center stone. Surrounded by 8.9 carats of diamond accents. Estimated retail value, $2.2 million. My brother had just walked out of my apartment wearing a $2.2 million necklace, thinking it was costume jewelry. I typed back one calm reply. "Have fun." Then I picked up my phone and dialed Robert Hale, head of security at Cross Crown Jewelers. "Robert," I said evenly, "this is Amelia Cross. I need to report a theft." There was a pause on the other end. "Miss Cross," he replied carefully, "what's been stolen?" "Inventory item CC7712, I said. "The Selene sapphire." Silence. Then, softly, "Oh no." The moment I realized the blue velvet compartment was empty, a strange calm washed over me, brief, fragile, and deceptive. I already knew what I would find before I even opened my laptop. Still, I needed confirmation. I moved back to my home office, my heels clicking sharply against the hardwood floor, and logged into the Aurelius Fine Jewelry internal inventory system. My hands were steady, but my chest wasn't. I typed in the item code from memory. I'd reviewed it dozens of times during production, appraisal, and insurance documentation. Item number 7791. Azure crown sapphire necklace. 18 carat white gold. Center stone, 16.1 carat Ceylon sapphire. Diamond accents, 8.6 carats total. Estimated value, $2.3 million. There it was. Active status. Marked as temporarily removed for private evaluation. Private evaluation. In my bedroom. In my jewelry box. And now around the neck of my brother's girlfriend. A text buzzed in again. "Evan, relax, Lena. It's just for dinner. I'll bring it back later tonight." I stared at the screen, the casual confidence in his words making my jaw tighten. Evan had always been like this, assuming access, assuming permission, assuming I'd clean up whatever mess followed. To him, I was still his practical older sister, the one who lived simply, drove an old hybrid, and never flaunted success. He had no idea. I didn't reply. Instead, I stood, closed my laptop, and picked up my phone. There was only one call that mattered right now. Aurelia's security, the voice answered. Calm. Professional. This is Lena Morrow, I said. I need to report a theft. The pause on the other end was immediate. Ms. Morrow, what item is missing? Inventory item 7791. The azure crown sapphire necklace. I heard rapid typing. That piece was signed out to you personally for appraisal photography. Yes. It was taken from my residence without consent. Another pause, longer this time. Do you know who took it? Yes, I said flatly. My brother. A sharp inhale. Are you certain you want to file this as theft? Family situations can. That necklace is worth more than most houses, I cut in. This is not a misunderstanding. This is felony grand theft. Silence. Then, quietly, understood. Do you know his current location? I glanced at Evan's earlier message. Dinner plans. Celebration. Romance. He's at Le Jardin Noir downtown. Reservation for 7:30. We'll notify the police immediately, the security director said. Do you wish to press full charges? I didn't hesitate. Yes. I ended the call and sat back in my chair, staring at the city lights outside my window. Evan still thought I worked at a jewelry store. He had no idea he'd just stolen from the woman who owned one of the most powerful luxury jewelry houses on the West Coast. And the night was only beginning. My heart started racing as I opened the small velvet compartment in the back of my jewelry box. It was empty. Completely empty. The space where I kept the azure crown sapphire necklace, the piece I rarely even touched, was bare. My hands went cold. This wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. This wasn't a borrowed trinket. Something was very, very wrong. I rushed back to my desk and opened my laptop, logging into the Aurelia's Fine Jewelry internal inventory system. The familiar dashboard loaded, calm and professional, completely detached from the panic building in my chest. I typed in the item number from memory, AC 7811. The screen populated instantly. Azure crown sapphire necklace 18K white gold setting 16.2 carat cashmere sapphire 9.1 carats of flawless diamond accents estimated value $2.15 million. I stared at the number like it might change if I blinked hard enough. It didn't. My younger brother Ethan had just walked out of my apartment with a necklace worth over $2 million. And thought it was cheap costume jewelry. Another text buzzed onto my phone. Relax, Maya. I'll bring it back tomorrow. Just needed something classy for Lily. You know how picky she is. Smiling face with open mouth and cold sweat. I closed my eyes slowly, forcing myself to breathe. Lily. His girlfriend. The same woman who still forgot to return 2 of my silk scarves and a leather clutch she'd borrowed months ago. The same woman who believed expensive things simply belonged to whoever wore them best. I typed back a single response, "Have a nice dinner." Then I didn't waste another second. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I rarely needed but always had memorized. Aurelia's security, this is Daniel Reyes. Daniel, it's Maya Cross, I said, my voice calm despite the storm inside me. I need to report a theft. There was a brief pause. What item, Ms. Cross? Inventory piece AC 7811. The azure crown sapphire. Silence. Then the sound of frantic typing. That piece was removed for private appraisal photos, he said carefully. Yes. And it's been taken from my residence without authorization. Do you know who took it? I looked at Ethan's cheerful text again, complete with the smiling emoji. Yes, I replied. My brother. Another pause, this one heavier. Maya, are you sure you want to proceed? Family situations can become legally complicated. I leaned back in my chair, eyes drifting to the awards on my office wall, proof of years of work Ethan had never bothered to ask about. Daniel, I said quietly, that necklace is worth more than most homes. This isn't a family issue. It's felony theft. I understand, he said. Where is he now? I forwarded Ethan's earlier message mentioning their anniversary dinner at Le Jardin Bleu downtown. Lapt will be notified immediately, Daniel said. Do you want to press full charges? I didn't hesitate. Yes, I said. Treat it exactly like any other theft of a $2 million asset. When the call ended, I sat alone in my home office, surrounded by contracts, valuations, and designs Ethan had never once been curious about the life he assumed was small because I never bragged. And somewhere across town, my brother was about to learn just how wrong he'd been. The downtown precinct buzzed with the usual Friday night chaos, raised voices, ringing phones, and officers moving briskly between desks. Evelyn Carter followed Detective Luis Ramirez down a narrow hallway, her heels clicking sharply against the tiled floor. Somewhere behind a metal door, her brother Ryan was waiting, probably still convinced this was all a ridiculous mistake that would be cleared up the moment she arrived. Detective Ramirez stopped in front of interview room B. He's been asking for you nonstop, he said. He seems shaken. I imagine he would be, Evelyn replied calmly. Inside, Ryan sat at a steel table, his wrists cuffed, his once perfect dinner jacket now wrinkled. He looked smaller than she remembered, less confident, less sure of himself. When he saw her, his eyes widened with relief. Evie, thank God, he blurted out. Please tell them this is all a misunderstanding. Evelyn sat across from him, folding her hands neatly on the table. What exactly do you think they are misunderstanding, Ryan? The necklace, he said quickly. They are saying it's worth $2 million. That's insane. It's just costume jewelry from your room. Evelyn studied his face. Why did you assume it was costume jewelry? Ryan frowned. Because you work at a jewelry store. I figured it was something cheap you brought home from work. You live normal. Which jewelry store do I work at? She asked softly. Ryan hesitated. I don't know. Some boutique downtown. Evelyn took out her phone and turned the screen toward him. The homepage of Carter and Vale Fine Jewelry filled the display, her photo beside the title founder and CEO. Ryan's mouth fell open. That's you. Yes, she said evenly. I own the company. Grandpa left it to me 8 years ago. His face drained of color. You own it? The whole thing? Yes. And the necklace you took wasn't mine personally. It was company inventory. A private collector piece. Ryan swallowed hard. I had no idea. You never said anything. You never asked, Evelyn replied. There was a long, heavy silence. Ryan looked down at his cuffed hands, finally understanding the seriousness of his situation, not just legally, but personally. This isn't just about a necklace, Evelyn continued. It's about respect. You walked into my home and took something without permission because you assumed my life and my work weren't worth much. Ryan's voice cracked. I was wrong. Evelyn leaned back slightly, her expression unreadable. Now we need to decide what happens next. I sat across from Ethan in the cold interview room, watching the confidence drain from his face as reality finally set in. His hands trembled slightly, cuffed to the metal table, his dress shirt wrinkled from the night unraveling faster than he could comprehend. Just hours earlier, he'd been sipping wine at a luxury restaurant, convinced he was impressing Lila. Now, he looked like a man realizing he'd stepped into a world far bigger than himself. "Arya," he said quietly, using my name the way he had when we were kids. "Please tell them this is a mistake." "What part is the mistake?" I asked calmly. "Taking something that didn't belong to you. Entering my apartment without permission. Or assuming my life had no value because I don't talk about it." He swallowed hard. "I really thought it was fake. You never wear flashy stuff. You live normal." "That was a choice," I replied. "Not a limitation." The door opened, and Detective Alvarez stepped in holding a file thick enough to bend under its own weight. "Ms. Reed," he said, nodding to me, "based on the appraisal and security verification, the necklace is confirmed at $2.2 million. This qualifies as felony grand theft." Ethan's head snapped up. "Felony? That's insane." "It's math," the detective replied flatly. "And law." Ethan turned to me, panic flooding his eyes. "You can fix this. You always fix things." I studied him for a long moment. My younger brother. The same boy who never asked about my work, never noticed the long hours, the travel, the pressure. The same man who assumed I stood behind a glass counter selling trinkets because it made him feel bigger. "Ethan," I said quietly, "do you know how many people worked on that necklace?" He shook his head. 6 designers. 3 gem specialists. 2 security firms. Months of planning. That piece represents trust, reputation, and years of work." His voice cracked. "I didn't know. You didn't ask." Detective Alvarez cleared his throat. "Ms. Reed, as the legal owner and victim, you have the option to request reduced charges. However, the district attorney may still proceed." I looked at Ethan again. Really looked at him. For the first time, he wasn't talking over me. He wasn't assuming. He was listening. "I need time," I said finally. "This isn't just about punishment. It's about accountability." Ethan nodded slowly, tears gathering. "I'll do whatever it takes." I stood, gathering my coat. "Then be prepared," I said. "Because whatever happens next, your life is about to change." And for the first time, I believed he understood that wasn't a threat. It was a promise. Daniel sat silently in the interview room, his hands clasped together so tightly his knuckles had turned white. Across from him, Elena Hartman studied her younger brother with a calm that masked years of quiet disappointment. For the first time since his arrest, Daniel wasn't arguing. He wasn't making excuses. He was listening. "So what happens now?" Daniel asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Elena leaned back in her chair. "That depends on you." Detective Reyes stepped back into the room, a manila folder tucked under his arm. "Ms. Hartman, the district attorney is prepared to move forward with felony grand theft charges. Given the value of the necklace, prison time is very much on the table." Daniel's head snapped up. "Please, Elena, don't let that happen." She held his gaze. "You broke into my apartment. You took something you didn't own. You assumed my life had no value because you never bothered to ask about it." "I know," Daniel said, tears welling up. "I was wrong. I swear I'll fix this. Just tell me how." Elena exhaled slowly. She had spent years building her company, late nights, failed prototypes, ruthless negotiations. Respect wasn't given. It was earned. And maybe, finally, her brother was ready to learn that. "I'll drop the charges," she said. Daniel let out a shaky breath of relief. Too soon. "On one condition," she continued. Detective Reyes raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." "Daniel will work for me. 6 months. Entry level. No special treatment. He'll learn every part of the business, from workshop floors to inventory control. Minimum wage." Daniel blinked. "Work for you?" "Yes," Elena said evenly. "You thought that necklace was worthless because you don't understand what goes into creating something of value. You will." Reyes nodded slowly. "That's unconventional. But if both parties agree, it can be structured as restitution." Daniel swallowed. 6 months, or prison? Correct. He didn't hesitate. "I agree." "One more thing," Elena added. "All items Lena took from my apartment, scarves, bags, everything, are returned tonight." Daniel's face fell. "She said you gave them to her." Elena's expression hardened. "I didn't." The realization hit him like a punch to the chest. "Then she's been stealing from you too." "Seems that way." Daniel dragged a hand down his face. "God. I'm sorry. For all of it." Detective Reyes closed the folder. "Then we'll proceed with conditional release." As they stood to leave, Elena paused at the door and looked back at her brother. "Monday. 7 a.m. Don't be late." Daniel nodded. This time, there was no arrogance left, only humility. And for the first time, Elena believed something had finally changed. 6 months later, I barely recognized my brother. Ethan stood in the Sterling Vale workshop, sleeves rolled up, carefully inspecting a sapphire setting under the magnifying lamp. His movements were precise now, respectful, nothing like the careless man who once grabbed a necklace from my jewelry box without a second thought. The transformation hadn't been easy. For the first few weeks, Ethan complained constantly. The early mornings. The minimum wage paycheck. The strict rules. The fact that no one cared he was the boss's brother. I made sure of that. At Sterling Vale, titles meant nothing without effort, and Ethan had to earn every ounce of trust he was given. But something shifted around month 3. He started asking questions, not the shallow kind, but real ones. About gemstone sourcing. About why certain diamonds were rejected. About how long it took to design a single piece. He watched our master craftsman with genuine curiosity. He listened. He learned. And for the first time in our lives, he truly saw me. Not as his normal sister who drove an old car and wore simple clothes, but as the woman who carried the weight of a multi-million-dollar company on her shoulders. One afternoon, Ethan approached me with a file in his hands. "The sapphire necklace," he said. "The one I stole." I raised an eyebrow. "What about it?" "We've got a private collector interested. European. Serious buyer. I handled the coordination like you taught me. That necklace, the one that shattered our relationship, was finally ready to leave our vault. 2 weeks later, the deal closed. Final sale price, $2.4 million. Ethan had helped close it. When the confirmation came in, he didn't celebrate. He just sat quietly in my office, staring at the screen. "I can't believe I almost destroyed all this," he said. "Over one stupid date." "You didn't destroy it," I replied. "You learned from it." He looked at me then, really looked at me. I spent years thinking success was loud, Ethan said. Flashy cars. Designer clothes. Impressing people who don't matter. You built something real, and I never even noticed. I smiled, not with pride, but with relief. Some lessons cost money. Some cost relationships. And some, if you're lucky, cost only time and humility. As Ethan left my office that day, now a trusted employee instead of a careless brother, I realized something important. That necklace didn't just sell for millions. It bought accountability, respect, and the brother I'd been waiting nearly a decade to meet.